Hey guys, John V here from Phone Arena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the Motorola ATRIX HD. Motorola has been rather quiet on AT&T's lineup of late. Last time we heard it was the ATRIX 2 from last year, and previous to that was the original Motorola ATRIX 4G. And this follows after some really enticing handsets for AT&T's lineup. The cool thing about this guy here is that it's priced at $100 for a 2-year contract. It has some nice high-end specs, but let's see whether or not it could stand out compared to the crop out there. We've seen this design before, and it's nothing really new. It's basically like the Droid Razr Max over in Verizon Wireless, except for the fact that it is bigger due to a larger display and sporting a different paint job, but white on black, which we're not too keen about. It's still fairly streamlined at 8.4mm thick, but not as thin as its main rivals, and they do also offer this in an all-black version. It has a good build quality to it, same choice of materials. You have the plastics with the Kevlar backing, which gives a nice clean appearance. Its internal components have water-resistant nano coating, so it is water-resistant to an extent. Our biggest issue is that it feels rather wide and unwieldy in the hand just because of the large bezels around the display. It makes the device feel a lot larger than what it's supposed to be. When compared to the HTC One X, which sports a larger display, a 4.7-inch display, the two devices are actually the same, so it makes you wonder if this could have been streamlined a little bit more. Rather than providing an AMOLED display like what Motorola uses with its Droid devices, the ATRIX HD features a 4.5-inch HD Color Boost TFT display, so that's 720 by 1280 pixels. Of course, it produces some sharp-looking details with the resolution. We didn't have any issues as far as making out fine text, but the bigger thing is just the color reproduction. It really stands out just because of its vibrant color tones, its high contrast. The view angles are okay, but in outdoor usage, we still find ourselves having shielded away from the sun. Now, it is pretty looking, but it doesn't quite come off as being as attractive compared to the competition, like the Super LCD 2-panel in play with the HTC One X. Above the display, we have its tiny earpiece, the front-facing camera, which has the ability to shoot 720p videos, and to the left of the earpiece, we have the green LED notification light. Just like the Droid Razr and Droid Razr Max before it, the ATRIX HD also packs a micro SIM and micro SD card slots in the lower left corner of the device, and it's hidden behind this plastic flap. Meanwhile, on the right side of the phone, we have the volume control, the dedicated power button. They're a little bit tough to make out with our fingers, and they have a really stiff response. And with the power button, sometimes it gets stuck. Likewise, on the top edge of the phone, we have the micro HDMI out port, the micro USB port, and 3.5mm headset jack. And lastly, in the rear, you have the 8-megapixel autofocus camera, single LED flash that has the ability to shoot 1080p videos. You have the 3 notches there for the handset's internal speaker, and towards the bottom, you have a directional microphone. It's quite apparent that Motorola is gone with the ATRIX HD, and instead it relies on a mostly stock Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich experience. It's noted by the Android buttons incorporated to the platform, and the app panel is laid out in a traditional grid-like view. Motorola managed to differentiate it just a little bit from its competitors, just because we have this new widget right here called the Circles widget. It allows you to interact with the circles, gives you specific details like the time and date, the temperature, the weather, and things like the battery level and how much data you've used. It's nice that it is a mostly stock experience, so hopefully it receives updates faster, but at the same time it lacks the level of completeness that we find with things like the HTC Sense 4.0 or Samsung's TouchWiz UX. Powering the handset is a dual-core 1.5 GHz processor, and it's coupled with 1 GB of RAM. And you can tell here, even with the live wallpaper, it's able to maintain a really good amount of responsiveness with its operations. Other basic tasks, for example, opening up apps, kinetic scrolling, pinch zooming, stuff like that, it's pretty instantaneous and fluid with its movement. So very content. Every now and then you might see just a delay with certain things like running the camera app, but for the most part, it maintains a really fast response. See that it has a somewhat large display. Typing out messages isn't a problem on the ATRIX HD, just because with its available on-screen keyboards, they're very spacious and responsive. You have 2 options available. You have either the stock one or swipe. Both are exceptional in getting the job done. Of course, it's great that the handset features 4G LTE connectivity, so you get really fast data speeds. Out of the box, Flash isn't installed, so you gotta download it to get that desktop-like experience. At times, it seems to work alright. You can tell here with kinetic scrolling, it's fairly smooth, and same thing goes with pinch zooming, but every now and then it acts a little bit jumpy, which can be a little bit irritating, but still more than usable. In terms of enhancements found with the software experience, just like the Droid Razr devices before it, Motorola again has the smart actions with the ATRIX HD. So basically you could optimize a variety of different functions for the handset to better give it an optimal performance, whether it be battery life or even just overall performance. There are some preset ones that you could use, but you could always add a new rule if you'd like. Likewise, we see the enhancement again here with the lock screens. When you unlock it, you have options. You can unlock the device, launch the camera, or just launch the phone application, or send a text message. As we said, the ATRIX HD has a mostly stock experience, so when you run the music player, it should be very familiar. It's the stock ice cream sandwich one that we've seen. It's still a pleasing looking player with its 3D carousel like so. When you're playing a song, it displays the usual information, the album cover, the track information. As far as the audio quality, it's good. It doesn't crackle at the loudest volume setting. It's a very pleasant, natural tone, and you can enhance that thanks to the included audio effects it has to offer. Thanks to its vibrant output, we definitely like watching videos on the ATRIX HD on its 4.5-inch display. The video we have here is encoded in DivX 1920 by 1080 resolution. You can tell no issues whatsoever, very smooth, good details, rich colors, definitely stands out, and overall, it's very pleasing to watch. Instead of finding the stock ice cream sandwich camera UI, Motorola opts to keep its own with this. It's still kind of lacking in terms of manual settings, but you have different options like the various scenes, modes, and you can even adjust its exposure. But when you compare it to other camera UIs out there, it's still kind of lacking some refinements. Sadly, the ATRIX HD fails to take any compelling shots with its 8-megapixel camera, and as a whole, when you compare it to its rivals, it's rather poor with its overall quality. Specifically, in outdoor conditions, details are extremely dull looking, even muddy at times. On top of that, it suffers from some overexposure. In low lighting conditions, you could kiss it goodbye. There's a noticeable amount of graininess, some digital noise, and some washed out colors. It gets worse just because with its LED flash, it fails to do anything. It produces a noticeable vignetting effect where the corners and outside borders of the images aren't illuminated properly. Well, its 1080p video recording quality fares a little bit better, but not by much. For starters, it's fairly smooth looking with its playback. Details, though, are still very indistinct, very soft looking. There's a little bit of artifacting going on when you're panning very quickly, and exposure seems adequate. It's not very sensitive. And its audio quality, it's natural for the most part, but it has trouble cutting out wind. Thankfully, calling quality with the handset is pretty pleasant on both ends of the line. Voices are distinctive and clear, no distortion or background noise. Even with its small, tiny speaker, it's still pretty strong with its output, and the same thing applies with its speakerphone. During our testing, we didn't experience any fluctuation with its signal strength, and at the same time, it didn't drop any phone calls. Compared to the competition, the ATRIX HD's battery life is rather lax. We got less than a single day out of a full charge. That's from its 1780 mAh battery, so a little bit behind the competition. But then again, you'd have to probably utilize the Motorola Smart Actions to better optimize its battery life, but it's still something you're going to charge nightly. Aside from the larger and higher resolution display, there's nothing particularly compelling with the Motorola ATRIX HD. It's essentially the Droid Razr Max, but it's lacking that higher capacity battery, and it's missing out on the web-top experience that we find on Motorola's Droid smartphones. But still, at $100 to 2-year contract, you can't count out the fact that it offers a lot of value for the money. You get a great hardware with a mostly stock Android ice cream sandwich experience. It runs fast. It has 4G LTE connectivity. So we really can't go wrong with the price, but it's still not quite as compelling compared to some of the other main rivals out there, like the Samsung Galaxy S3, the HTC One X, and even to an extent the Sony Xperia Ion. So if you'd like to learn more about the Motorola ATRIX HD, you can check out our website, guys, phonearena.com. This is John V. Thanks for watching.